the pop culture field, and you will.
All right, Izzy. Long time no see, buddy.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Good.
How are you?
How are you doing? It's we
I'm
need to
good.
we need to hang out where we're just hanging out, because I feel like every time we are together, we are working. Working. I put that in scare quotes, but because like everything that we do is kind of fun anyway. But we're always kind of working.
You consider this work?
I mean, yes, because, and here's why. Because I used to think that like work had to feel a certain way or be a certain, it had to, you know, like you have to be like building a house, like that's work. And
then, like blue collar work.
Yeah, like blue collar
hands.
But I want to
making your own jerky, chopping wood.
Exactly.
That's work.
Yeah, killing a deer with your bare hands. But I like doing this, and I want this to be my job. So I call this work. This is my job.
But we never,
you know?
we never hang out in just a capacity where we don't talk about the podcast or like talk about, you know, things that we can do. It's not just like, hey, like, what do you think about, you know, apples?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if that's a question.
Yeah, man, we got to talk some apples, man. Maybe what if you and I have,
apples.
What if we like get together and it's just like we find out that we just hate each other? Like the only time we like each other is when we're working on something.
I mean, that could be the whole reason why we only talk about work, because we're like, God, I can't stand this guy. It's not work.
Just deep down secretly, I have a burning hatred for you, and it's like, just keep it below the surface of our work, and that's the magic, actually. It's the tension between us that exists.
That could, you know, honestly, I think you're onto something. We should never take shrooms together, because we'll probably just kill each other from the grand realizations that we absolutely cannot stand each other's guts.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
That is super deep. I don't know. What a way to start the podcast, huh?
Yeah. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Deep Philosophical Podcast known as the Pop Culture Field Manual Podcast. And we are happy you're with us, folks. I'm Israel. This is Cameron. We love you all. And today, we're talking about stunts, folks. What makes a great action movie? All right. Is it the premise? Is it the weapons, the gore, the action sequences? Yes, to all of these things. But one of the biggest contributors to a truly great action film is an amazing stunt, right? It's something that can stick in your memory, right? If it's done well, if it's done in the right way. And I think more and more today, with kind of the oversaturation of CGI, green screen, pulling off a good stunt, and when you know it's real, is even more impressive. And we're going to talk about kind of some great examples today. So today we're going to be talking about just stunts. And just so you know, when we talk about stunts today, we're not talking about necessarily fight scenes or fight choreography. That could be its own episode, and it's impressive in its own right. But today we're talking about the good old-fashioned, like guys jumping off of buildings, or Tom Cruise holding onto a jet plane, you know, a C-130 or something. That kind of stunts. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Stunts, for me, make or break a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned CGI, and like when you see CGI stuff, you're like, well, obviously it takes a lot of expertise and skill to create that, you know, using a software engine. But, you know, when you have an actual person in the driver's seat, so to speak, which sometimes is actually the truth, and they can execute some type of maneuver or stunt that is just mind-boggling, and it's dangerous, and there is such a high level of injury that can, you know, be bestowed upon that person. That is what like makes or breaks it for me. Yeah. And so, you know, in my experience in, you know, TV and film so far, I've had such a deep respect for the stunt man. And it seems like every actor that's like getting out into the industry, like whether they're starting out in background, they always want to go to stunts. Because the stunt guys get paid the pay's nice, but also it like is this almost like cult-like network of people that just are constantly working. And that was really cool to see when I worked on Tenet, because like the stunt guys, obviously it's a very, very hard job, and it's extremely taxing on the body.
Yeah.
Like I almost compare it to like professional wrestling for like the WWE. Like those dudes are stuntmen.
They are stuntmen. Yes, they are.
They are
True.
literally stuntmen, and they, obviously it's scripted, and who's gonna win in the fights or the matches, but when you see a guy do a double backflip off a top rope and land on his stomach onto another person, whenever I run into somebody on the street and like bump shoulders, you go, ow. Like, right?
Yeah.
But like these dudes smash through tables, they hit each other with chairs. Like it still hurts and it still leaves bruises, it breaks bones. A lot of respect for those dudes.
Yeah.
Do you have experience in stunts? Have you done some stunt work before?
Oh, me? Man, I technically yes, but not anything like what we're describing today. I got to do one episode of The Last Ship, but that was oh man, I forget what episode it was. I still get residuals. I got like a residual check for like $12 the other day.
Hell yeah. Making that money.
Yeah, it's like season 5. It's got a Spanish name like Sangra de Il some I don't know. Anyway. But yes, it's a one day. But that was like the most stunty stuff I did was running back and forth a couple times. It was like a big raid scene on like a base. But yeah, that was all the stunts that I ever did. And then of course you have famously, you did a lot of stuff on Tenet,
I wouldn't say a lot, but it was a lot of filming for like a 15-20 second like invasion scene.
Yeah, but you had to do stuff backwards too, which is
they had to
skill.
teach us how to run backwards.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because they labeled us as quote, like we were, I feel like there's different levels of like quote unquote background. It goes like straight up background actor, like no speaking role. Yep. You just are just there, right? Yep. You don't have a lot of responsibility. You don't get given any direction. They just say action and you do whatever you think you would do.
You may not even see yourself in the film. It may be like your elbow or your back in the background.
Yeah, and if you're super into it, you snapshot your heel in the shot and post it on Instagram and say, "I loved working on this. I can't wait to be on Netflix or to be on Hulu."
So honored to work with Tom Cruise today.
Yeah. And then one step above that would be special ability, and then to me, because it's like you are background, but you are given more responsibility because the role you're playing like requires some level of skill.
Yeah.
And that's what I did on Tenet with like the running backwards and doing there was a lot of running, like basically doing the invasion of the red and blue invasion of the Russians on Tenet. And then above that was stunts. Mm-hmm. So like I was one level right underneath stunts because obviously they're not going to be like, hey, you random guy, we want you to fall off this building and like here, hook yourself up to this harness.
Yeah.
So but we still had to like run backwards. There was one scene that we did where we were like running down this hill and like getting on this berm to engage the Russians, and like me and Robert Pattinson would like run down this hill as like a mob with like other people, but like there would be a Chinook helicopter like hovering above us, and then as we're running off of it, a truck was coming in reverse and doing a massive turn. And I was the guy that was basically the last dude to make sure everybody was clear of the truck because it was like coming past us and we had to run to make sure, because if we weren't in time or we didn't get to our spot in time, the truck would have barreled in it because it was coming in reverse at like 50 miles an hour. Yeah, it was practical, but like I would consider that kind of a stunt, but then again, I'm not credited on it, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm a stunt man.
Yeah.
I'm just a dude that was special ability on a movie. But that's my experience with stunts, but yeah.
I think I got one more, but I really, it was just a fun experience. I couldn't call myself a special ability guy, but I did get hired as that kind of special ability. But it was the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Way back when. It was the episode where Bill Paxton was in it, and I played a dead body for 18 hours. Like, I got paid golden time, and I literally, every time I was on set, I was laying down like I was dead because the characters that we were playing were security people, and in the very previous scene, they had all been shot. And so they weren't obviously going to use those same people. It was like a different day of shooting, but they needed bodies to be there because they were dead now. And so Bill Paxton was like gloating, over us and, talking about his plan or whatever in the episode. And so it was like the easiest day I ever had, man. Like we were there all
awesome.
day. All we had to do was lay down. I would occasionally doze off during takes because they're like, "You guys good? All right, just kind of hold what you got."
Honestly, those are kind of like the best days.
Yeah.
Because we had some days like that on set on Tenet where we worked for 17 hours. And like some of those days, like there was about 300 of us.
Yeah.
And like they would come on we would be all waiting on a bus in the middle of the Palm Springs desert. And just outside of Palm Springs, we'd all be, and they had like 4 or 5 buses, and we all just be sitting there in costume. And sometimes they'd come over and be like, "Hey, we need 12 people from Red," or "Hey, we need like a couple people from Blue." And like if you didn't want to do it, you just stayed on the bus. And so many people did that. And like we would just sit on this bus for 17 hours. And everybody was complaining, saying like, "Oh my God, this is such hard work." And I literally would like turn around and be like, "Shut the fuck up." Like, don't ruin this for me. I'll be here all night. Because for those of you that don't know, when we say golden time or golden hour, it's pretty much in film and TV, you have overtime in any workforce you do. So anything past 8 hours, you get time and a half. And then basically anything past 12 hours, you get double, right? Is that correct? Double time?
Yeah.
Double time?
Yeah. It's basically the concept is to encourage the filmmakers not to overwork the crew and stuff. So
Yeah, 'cause
there's
they pay more.
penalties, for the longer that you're on set. But sometimes you just got to get done what you got to get done. You got a time crunch.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, so basically past 8 hours, you get time and a half of your hourly rate.
Yeah.
And then after 12, I believe it's double time. So you get double your pay rate after 12. And when you hit 16 hours, this is what was known as golden time or golden hour, because every hour that you work after 16, you get your entire full day rate every hour on the hour.
Yep.
So when we hit golden hour, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I want to go home." And I would be like, "Sit your fucking ass down." I was like, "We are making $300 an hour right now.
To
Do
sit
not
here.
just sit here. Maybe somebody get lost. Like, make sure that we can't leave here, and they have to find us because we are literally just milking time."
Yep.
I mean, which is kind of fucked up because we're stealing company time. But anyways, golden hour. We hit golden hour 3 times in 3 weeks. So I was like, this is good money. But that's golden hour for you guys that don't know what we were talking about.
A little bit of cinema.
A little bit of cinema, trivia there. But back to stunts.
Back to stunts. Let's get into it, man. We have there are so many to choose from, and
so many good ones.
As per usual, we will not be able to get to all of them, but I think it's only appropriate because a movie in the franchise recently came out, and Tom Cruise has been known to do his own stunts, much to the chagrin of many of the directors and filmmakers that he's worked with. But Mission Impossible, the Mission Impossible franchise, has become known for it has a great style. It's kind of carved out a place in the cinematic universe for itself. And it's one of the things it's known for is like, what crazy stunt is Tom Cruise gonna do? Because he's been doing every movie. I feel like he has done some sort of crazy stunt or two, and he's only pushed the envelope as the movies have gone on. The most recent one at the time of this recording, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 has just come out, and even if you haven't seen it, you know about
that.
The cliff jump. Yeah, the cliff jump. Yeah, where he's on the
I'm very aware.
motorcycle and he rides it off and, rides it off into the air, and then he's got to pull his parachute and stuff like that.
Yeah. I got big respect for Tom Cruise. I don't care what anybody says about that guy, because you hear like the horror stories. And remember when COVID came out, there was that clip of him yelling
freaking out because somebody didn't have a mask on.
Freaking out because they didn't have the masks on. So whatever, diva or not, the fact that this guy, and we're the same height, so don't think that short people can't achieve great things.
It's true.
But the fact that he does these extreme stunts, and it seems like his entire career now is just dedicated to him fulfilling his dreams, his dream quote unquote stunts, and doing them himself. Because I was listening to an interview with Matt Damon, and they were all talking about Tom Cruise. Because let's be honest, Tom Cruise is the last great action hero.
Yeah, he's the last great, like one of the last old school great movie stars. There you go. He's a movie star. You know?
Movie star. Yeah, he's not just an actor. He is a stuntman. He is a producer. He is a writer. He is a director. The movie is Tom Cruise. And I was listening to an interview from Matt Damon, and they were talking about the Mission Impossible. And it seems like everybody who's met Tom Cruise has a Tom Cruise story that's just amazing.
He's so
because
intense.
He is Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he's such an intense dude.
Just an extremely intense dude and an extremely driven guy to make movies. Like I feel like that guy's entire life is movies and to make movies. So I'm listening to this interview with Matt Damon. He's like, when I met Tom Cruise, we were talking about Mission Impossible, and he's just like, okay, for Mission Impossible, I want to do this stunt. I've been dreaming of doing this stunt where, I'm running on top of a moving train, and my safety guy said I couldn't do it because it's unsafe. So the first thing I did was find a new safety guy.
I love that story, man.
Yeah, and their reaction to this, Matt Damon talking about this was just like, well, if the safety guy his job is to say if something's unsafe. So if the safety guy is saying something's unsafe and you find a new safety guy, what's the point of even having a safety guy?
Right.
Yeah. But I respect that so much because he literally has these, visions in his mind, and he will literally break all the rules just to make them happen. Yeah. And he does them successfully. So, nothing bad's happened yet.
Well, and that's the thing about Tom Cruise. You said it yourself, Cameron. He knows every aspect, or it seems to know many aspects of filmmaking. He knows how to plan things out, how to get things done. He knows what everybody's job is and how to coordinate these kinds of things. So I think as safe as anything could be that he has done, I think they try their best to make it as safe as possible.
Yeah.
And then it's just the fact that it's, a lot of times when you have stuntmen, it's because the actor has to go and act. They have a role to play in the movie, and they're not interchangeable. You can't just switch them back and forth. So it's very dangerous to have an actor do their own stunts, because if they get hurt, then you got to stop production. And actually, they had to do that on Mission Impossible. I think it was Fallout, where he jumps across from building to building, and Tom Cruise actually broke his ankle, and he had to be out for 6 weeks. And that was the bare minimum too, because it's even if he wasn't fully recovered, he's like, no, we're going back to filming. But so Tom Cruise is hurt, and then production stops, and nobody works, and stuff. So that's one of the drawbacks of having him do his own stunts. But on the other hand, they do so much coordination, they do so much planning and stuff that it's just about as safe as it could be. So hats off to him and the crew.
Yeah, but back to Mission Impossible, I feel like every movie has a stunt in there that just tops when Mission Impossible 1 came out, great stunts, and then the second one, you're even better stunts, and then the next one even better and better and better. It's kind of like John Wick with the gung fu evolution. But you can't talk about amazing movies that incorporate stunts without talking about Mission Impossible.
Do you have a favorite one out of all of them? If you had to pick one, or maybe one and a runner-up or something, because
I'm going to show my ass right now. I'm going to be honest. I got to rewatch all of them before I go and watch. Yeah, because I've seen them, but it's been so long.
It has.
Obviously there's parts when they're in Dubai on the tallest building.
Yeah,
what's that called again?
Yeah, the Burj Khalifa or something like that. It's one of the tallest buildings in the world.
And they're scaling it and sliding on it and everything. That to me, that would be terrifying to just be at that level of height and still have to remember your lines and completely
and he's still
not
performing.
Lose character.
Yeah,
still performing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's when you're in that level of danger. I compare it to, I had to do some mountain climbing for a production I'm working on, and the people were like, talk, what are you doing? Tell me what you're feeling. And like, I was just silent because I had to scale this fucking cliff with full military pack on and like all my equipment and weapon, and it was snowing and my hands were freezing, and I'm just like, shut up. I'm trying to focus right now. I'm literally trying to focus. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And yeah, to like have that experience myself, and then watch these movies where they're doing these intense stunts and are still able to like say lines or still able to perform at the level of like award-winning movie acting. Is extremely commendable.
Yeah.
So hats off to you, Thomas
Cruise Maypother. It's funny because in the second one, I was doing a little research for an upcoming episode, but his last name is actually, I think, Maypother, and he has a cousin or something who's also an actor. I think William Maypother, or maybe he's got a couple, but his cousin was actually a henchman in Mission Impossible 2. And so he had both of the Maypothers, Maypother clan, I guess, in there. But if I had to choose one, that's it's tough, man, because I really like the fact that he just got himself strapped to the side of a military plane, like it was like a C-130 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he just took. You look at the behind the scenes, man, and they're just like, okay, ready to go. He's strapped there. They got the camera on him, and they just take off, and he can't. Yeah. They can't stop until they land again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that on my hat, but the Halo jump in Fallout, so it just seemed super cool, because they can
anything
basically
with Halo, come on.
Yeah, man. Just jumping out of a plane, and not only that, but like you say, he has to perform, right? There's a scene, and there's like lines that he has to say, and he's only got a minute and a half, and if they don't get it, that's it. I was watching the behind the scenes. He's like, we get one jump a day because it has to be at a certain time period, like has to be in the morning, I think, or something, or at night. And he's like, if we don't get it, then we don't get it. We have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Not to mention, jumping in general can get kinked with anything.
Yeah.
If the cloud cover, if there's too many clouds, if there's too much wind, it's like there are so many factors already that are playing against you when planning any type of jump, even in the military.
Yeah.
It's so like if you don't get it, you need to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing, like you were talking about the C-130, I love how they used it in the marketing as well. He's just like, hey, I'm Tom. He's like literally on the side of a C-130, and he's like, hey, I'm Tom Cruise, and go see Mission Impossible. And then the plane like banks left, and like he's just still on the side of it.
Oh, that was for this latest one. He was on like a little biplane, and he was talking about like, hey, it was just like kind of come back to the movies kind of thing. He's like, we film these big stunts, and he's like standing, he's like strapped in, but he's standing on top of the driver's seat, or for the plane, and talking out to the camera. And then like the director, Christopher McQuarrie, comes up in another plane. He's like, hey Tom, we gotta get going, man. We're losing the light. He's like, all right, everybody, I'll see you at the movies. And then that little plane banks off, and he's still looking. Can you imagine the feeling of like being on that plane, being strapped, and then that thing banks? Just dude, your heart's in your throat, man.
Yeah. Plus the amount of like when you are doing an airborne jump and you jump out of the plane, the amount of wind blast that initially hits you is like debilitating. So to just constantly being hit with that, and then also have to like go and get G's, pull G's while getting blasted and like still smiling is it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is super awesome.
And you haven't talked about what we because I'm telling you, behind the scenes, he's got some ideas. Like they want to do like some space stuff, like him going into space. That's the logical progression for Tom Cruise.
Sure. I mean, what else is there for him to do besides like go to the center of the earth? Like, like he's also, not only does he have to get skydive qualified, which he is, he has to get. He's already pilot qualified. He's already a pilot driving actual jets in Top Gun. Mm-hmm. Like he just has to get astronaut qualified, and he's got to go to school and become a geologist, and then go to the center of the earth. Like,
and he will do it too.
And he will do it. Yeah. If you ever feel like you don't have enough time, or it's too late for you to pursue something, just remember Tom Cruise will probably do it. So it's not late for you. It's not too late for you.
If Tom Cruise can do it, you can too.
Yeah. He's just a man. He bleeds. We're all pink on the inside.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think we spent a good chunk of time on the Mission Impossible series. Great stunts overall, but we have a lot to go through, and it's hard to pick. I think you can't talk about stunts and great people like Tom Cruise and Buster Keaton without mentioning Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan, man. Yeah.
Yeah, Jackie Chan, when you talk about Jackie Chan, the first thing anybody ever mentions is the fact that, Jackie Chan, he does his own stunts.
Yep.
That's like, it's almost like his last name. It's like Jackie Chan does his own, or it's Jackie does his own stunts Chan.
That's his middle name. Yep.
That's literally his middle name. And, I grew up on Jackie Chan, watching him in, Rush Hour or, why am I blanking? See, I just said I'm growing up on him, and now I'm just showing my
Shanghai Noon?
Shanghai Noon. And then, but just watching him, even like the outtakes at the end.
Yeah.
That show when his stunts go wrong.
Yep.
Like, and he'll do like one stunt. I remember like when he's doing fight choreography and they have a ladder, and he literally has to like jump through a ladder that's not being supported by anything. It's just standing there, and he's jumping through one of the rungs and like kicking a guy and then jumping back out and kicking another guy, all while balancing this ladder on its own axis.
Yep.
And like, he does it maybe 4 or 5 times, and like in the takes it shows him trying to attempt it and the ladder just completely falling on top of him and him just getting injured.
Yeah.
And like, but that's why you appreciate it so much, because he's literally so committed to the shot that he does whatever it takes, regardless of how many times. Jackie Chan reminds me of skateboarders, dude.
Yeah, innovating with their bodies, because he has a background in the Chinese theater, which has a lot of acrobatics. I think he went there like as a young age. Him and a couple other dudes of his generation, like Yoon Bu and there was another guy, Martial Law. You guys, he was the hefty dude. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they all grew up together and like came up together and doing stunts. And yeah, man. And he has, I think he had his own stunt team for a long time that he would do all his movies with, because they all worked together and then they would just innovate. I'm sure he would innovate on the fly on set. You obviously had to plan these things out, but coming up with little innovative things, because he didn't just do, like, you could talk about Jackie Chan fight choreography, and then you could talk about Jackie Chan stunts, and then how the two intermingle with one another, because a lot of times it was stunts and choreography at the same time. He has a lot of amazing stunts where it's just the stunt, right? Like Rumble in the Bronx. He has that amazing rooftop jump where he just jumps from like a parking garage on one end to like something like maybe 2 stories down below, like a door opening, and that's just him. He just has to jump and then has to land on the other side, like parkour style, which is just an amazing human feat. Like in the same movie, he's got that hovercraft jump where there's a hovercraft and he has to jump from a bridge or a landing next to the hovercraft as it drives by and land on the hovercraft. And if you look in the outtakes at the end of the movie, he actually breaks his ankle when he lands on the hovercraft, and then he has to come back a couple weeks later in a cast, and then they give him a sleeve that looks like a shoe and a sock, but it's like big, and he just slips on over the cast, and then he has to do things like he was doing water skiing with that cast. Because like you can't you got a schedule to keep, can't give it up. I don't even think Tom Cruise was doing stuff like that.
Yeah, the studio, they're gonna pull our budgeting if we don't get this on time. So here's this sock.
Here's the sock that looks like
amazing.
a fake shoe. One of his more famous ones is in a movie called Police Story, which is what he did a lot of Hong Kong exclusive stuff before he came over to the United States to do movies. But it's a light pole stunt where, and if you know Jackie Chan, you know what I'm talking about, where he's at like a department store, he's at the top level, bad guy's on the bottom level, he's got to get there quick, then there's a light display next to the stair landing he's on, and a bunch of lights attached to it. And so in the movie, he jumps from the landing at the top and grabs onto the pole and slides down while all of the lights are like popping and and breaking and stuff, and then he lands in like this kind of this rattan like gazebo thing for like a soft landing. But what you find out is at the time to power the lights, instead of attaching the power to like something small like a car battery, some dude just like plugged it into the wall socket. So there's
great.
full power lights. So as he's going down, he's getting like 2nd degree burns on his hands and stuff, because all the electricity is like, and the lights are like hitting him and popping off and going into his body and stuff. And so Jackie Chan, I don't know how many injuries Buster Keaton or Tom Cruise has, but part of Jackie Chan's legend is just how often he's been hurt. Did you see that video with him and his daughter watching montages of his stunts? Like it's him and his daughter watching a bunch of montages, and like he's like kind of laughing and looking at her, and she's like starting to like cry and like get all emotional.
I think I have seen this, because she's like, I'm watching my dad just get the shit kicked out of him.
And then he's like, oh man, I guess I really did kind of, and he feels bad because his daughter's crying. But yeah, Jackie Chan has just punished himself so much. And shout out to every stuntman and stuntwoman who's ever worked in the industry. I think sometimes they don't get enough love and enough credit. And even though Jackie Chan has done his own stunts and Tom Cruise does their own stunts, there's a lot of actors that don't. And so throughout the decades, those stunt people, they have done some amazing things. And it's, I think with CGI, I'm sure there's still some danger today when they use ropes and green screen and stuff like that. But, man, I just think like there's just nothing quite like watching a real dude like jump off a cliff, or do a bike jump off or whatever,
Yeah. I mean, I have a list of Jackie Chan injuries if you want me to
really?
read
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is literally separated by body part. Okay. I'll read a few of them just because it's a very long list. So head. Other than brain hemorrhage Jackie suffered on Armor of Gold, he hit his head and injured it many times. Jackie was actually knocked out completely unconscious while working as a stuntman on Hand of Death. His ears, the Armor of God fall also left him hard of hearing in one ear. In Drunken Master, his brow ridge of his eye was injured and nearly lost an eye. His nose, Jackie broke his nose at least 3 times on Young Master, Project A, and Mr. Nice Guy. Cheek, while making Super Cop, Jackie dislocated a cheekbone. He didn't even know he could do that. Teeth, Huang Zhang Li is a tremendous kicker, as Jackie found out when he kicked one of Jackie's teeth accidentally out while making Snake and Eagle Shadow. Chin, Jackie injured his chin on Dragon Lord. It was painful for him even to talk for a while. Made it hard for him to direct, and not to mention act. His throat, during Young Master, Jackie also almost suffocated while he injured his throat. Neck, Jackie hurt his neck a lot, but his worst neck injury happened during the clock tower fall in Project A after he messed up a flip during Mr. Nice Guy. Shoulder, Jackie dislocated his shoulder while making City Hunter. Hand, during The Protector, Jackie hurt his hand finger bones, adding injury to insult. Arm, while Jackie was shooting a fight scene in Snake in the Eagle Shadow, his arm accidentally slashed by a sword that could have had a blunt edge. Blood went everywhere, and he fell down screaming with the camera still rolling. That's real pain you see in the movie. Oh my God. Chest, Armor of God 2, Operation Condor. Jackie dislocated his sternum after falling from a hanging chain. That's another bone Jackie didn't know he could dislocate, but somehow managed to do it. His back, Jackie had a lot of back injuries while doing the movies, but the pole slide scene in Police Story almost paralyzed him when he nearly broke the 7th and 8th vertebrae in his spine. His pelvis, during the pole side stunt, Jackie dislocated his pelvis. Legs, Jackie crushed his legs while shooting Crime Story after getting caught between 2 cars. His knee, Jackie hurt his knee so often that he wondered whether there's even cartilage left in them. It makes any stunt which he has to jump harder, but he does his best anyways. And his foot, Jackie broke his ankle while jumping the hovercraft in Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, so that's the list.
Oh man, oh that's crazy, man. So much pain. So hey. You got to be safe, right? You don't want to cause long-term injury. But I think if you have a little bit of a muscle ache, a shoulder pain, don't let that stop you from getting out and doing what you got to do throughout the day, because Jackie Chan is your guide. He is gone before you. And for the love of entertainment and the entertaining people, has he repeatedly injured his body.
Yeah. So we have the face of Drive, which is Tom Cruise in Hollywood, and then we have the body of resilience, which is Jackie Chan.
Yes, this is the stuntman altar at which you can kneel and thank your lucky stars that nothing you have to do today is going to be nearly as hard as what they did. It should inspire you.
It should.
I want to get this one in there because it is something, it is something that I think teaches us a good lesson about filmmaking. So stunts are supposed to be a part of the larger storytelling process, right? It's
Yes.
There can be a great stunt in the midst of a mediocre movie, and you'll remember the stunt, but you may not even know what the movie's about. You just remember like, oh, that guy did that thing. He jumped off the whatever, and that was so amazing. What was the movie about? I don't know. But
Yeah.
the bungee jump off of the dam in the beginning of GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye, back in the day, I think is a great. It came at a great moment for the franchise, and then also is a great example of how it can really bring the audience into the story. Because that jump, like I said, it happens in the opening moments. It's one of the first things you see right after the barrel scene. James Bond, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
He shoots the thing, and then you're at a dam. There's a plane that flies over, and the very next shot is a dude running across the dam with a bunch of bungee cord in his arms, and GoldenEye came after, it was like a 6-year break. The previous Timothy Dalton movies had not been the best in the franchise's history, and so people were wondering, like, the Cold War's over, it's the 90s now, do we really need another James Bond movie? Is this like a viable...
The answer is yes.
And we know the answer to that. But Pierce Brosnan, it was his first movie, and so there was a lot of pressure on it, right? And so how do you get people in there? How do you say something about the character without saying any lines of dialogue? About who this person is and what they're willing to do and all that, the skill that they have. Well, if you don't know, it's basically he runs onto the dam. He gets right in the middle. And it's this huge dam in Switzerland. The Verzaska Dam in Switzerland is where they did this stunt. It's supposed to be in Russia somewhere, but it's this huge dam, and it drops down and it kind of curves at the bottom. And he basically hooks up the bungee cord, and he stands at the edge, and he just jumps off. And this stunt, they shot it with a bunch of cameras, and I think they only did it once. And it's amazing. It's a slow motion where he just iron cross. He's got his arms outstretched, and he jumps off and, drops down. And then there's like a little whiplash when the rope catches up with his body, kind of whips him down. And then at the very end, he's supposed to pull out a gun, like a grappling gun, and shoot it. And then he kind of catches himself at the bottom, pulls himself down to get into the base. But they talk about that where it's like, this amazing thing, this stuntman. Let me see if I can. Michael something. I want to give him proper.
Michael something.
Yeah, I want to give him proper credit. But I think. Wayne Michaels. Wayne Michaels was the stuntman. And can you imagine the feeling? Everyone, I want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving right now, and imagine yourself at the edge of this giant dam, like the sheer drop down. There's no guardrails. You're looking down. Maybe you feel a little wavering. Yeah, you're feeling it. Yeah. Some of you are like, no, what are you doing?
I'm getting motion sickness. about to.
And yeah, you jump off, and then he said that whip that you see kind of as the rope kind of pulls him up or whatever as he's falling. He said he kind of momentarily passed out, and the shot is supposed to be where he's falling. There's a moment where the cliffs kind of obscure him from view from the cameras, and he was supposed to pull out a gun and point it up to get ready for the next shot where you see him firing the grappling gun. And he passed out a little bit, and then the very next moment he woke up and he's like, oh, I got to get this gun. I got to get the gun out. And you see him struggling for it, and then right as he points the gun down, you get the shot. He is obscured from view by the rocks. But I think it's an iconic moment. We don't know anything about the character. It's a brand new James Bond movie. I thought it was a great way to start off and reignite the series. So it's just a great example of how a stunt can actually do a good job of helping tell the story and tell you something about the character, which I think is a great use of the stunt as a storytelling tool. So the GoldenEye dam bungee jump.
Nice, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's great. That's a little philosophical inside the head of,
Inside
what
baseball.
a true movie buff expects out of a film. Well, that's good. Well, I mean, I want to talk about, since we're running a little low on time, I want to talk about a few just singular stunts.
Okay.
I love The Dark Knight. The Christopher Nolan Batman films are my favorite Batman films ever to come out. And in The Dark Knight, you have this amazing stunt where they flip an entire semi-truck. There is basically a metal cord that Batman shoots from his vehicle and ends up just kind of bobbing and weaving through traffic in order to get it around this truck, and it all cinches up, and the truck going full speed gets immediately stopped and ends up flipping forward with multiple people inside. So that's pretty much how he stops this, like, quote unquote war rig.
Yeah.
And that's a little foreshadowing. But it's a truly amazing scene. And when you're working with tons and tons of just twisted metal, like, a lot can go wrong. Everybody knows no one wants to be hit by a semi-truck, and I don't know what person on earth wants to be in a semi-truck when it is not just flipped, but flipped over itself.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind being in a semi-truck if it just, like, kind of rolled over left or right. But the fact that this thing does, like, an entire, somersault and lands on its
Do
roof.
you think that for that particular shot, do you think there were people actually in there, or do you think they cut it so close that
to where they had just like a device in there that's like keeping it going?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know Christopher Nolan and his practical effects. I definitely think there wasn't anybody in the bed of the truck, like riding in the.
Sure, that would be.
Yeah, sure, yeah, that would be terrible.
Insanity.
But yeah, I wouldn't put it past Christopher Nolan to actually have somebody driving it when that happened. But then again, you don't know how that wire could have completely gone through the entire truck and decapitated anybody. So I'm going to safely assume that there was nobody in there. But just the pure force of dumping a truck like that is absolutely crazy.
And practical too, man. Like, they actually flipped it. It's not a CGI truck. I love that Christopher Nolan, when he can, really likes to do practical effects.
But I just wanted to mention The Dark Knight real quick. And I know you love this movie. So I'll let you talk about it because I've been talking for a little bit now. But Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, Mad Max Fury Road is so amazing. The whole Mad Max franchise is built around the idea of, like, these crazy stunts. Because it's all his movies, all these Mad Max movies are basically excuses to have chase scenes where amazing stunts happen, even from the very beginning, there are the whole kind of appeal of it is like they're driving down the road at high speeds and doing these crazy, amazing stunts. Road Warrior has the kind of the big iconic war rig scene where they're chasing after the rig, presumably that has a bunch of gasoline in it, and the falls and stuff like that. Actually, Road Warrior, there's a famous stunt that one of the stuntmen does where they're being chased and there's a bunch of guys on motorcycles. One dude kind of gets pushed off the road and he hits something on the road and then does like this end over end flip, like his body flips over and over and over again. And that stuntman went to the hospital. Like, he was hospitalized for months, like broke so many different bones. And so when you see that stunt in Road Warrior, just do a little salute for that guy because he sacrificed his body for your entertainment. But Fury Road, it stands alone, man. There are so many amazing things that they did in that, and it's just like one after the other after the other. And there's some CGI in it, obviously. There's some crashes that, they obviously couldn't have a real person doing that kind of stuff. But things like the Witness Me jump where that war boy gets hit with the arrows and then he takes two grenade spears and jumps off, from from the war rig onto the other car. And like being strapped to the front, Tom Hardy being strapped to the front of these cars on these poles. And let's see, chasing through the caves, jumping out on the hook at the end. Yeah. I think my favorite one is the final sequence when they're actually heading back. They've gone out, they've been chased, and they decide to actually head right back through and head back to kind of their place of origin, which I think is so great. I think I remember seeing like there's 3 or 4 different writers or writing pairings for the movie in the credits. I'm like, it took 4 people to write this. It's the simplest story ever. They go out and then they come right back, But the stunts and stuff when they're coming back, when they got the dudes on the pole guys, they're like swinging back and forth, and hanging in between all of the vehicles, almost falling off. A lot of, I think with a lot of the stunts where they're going through hills or different terrain, I think that the hills and the terrain are CGI'd. So they probably just had like just a big stretch of desert that they just drove back and forth on. But the beauty of Mad Max Fury Road is how it all is composed and like comes together. I think there's the beautiful shot that kind of encapsulates it is where Tom Hardy is on one of these swinging pole things, kind of going back and forth, and behind him one of the semi rigs is like blowing up, and everybody's like after him and like driving, and he kind of swings up into frame as this rig is blowing up, and he's like looking around and he swings out of frame. It's just this beautiful encapsulation of the insane stunts that they did, in Fury Road, and not to be outdone. The older Mad Max, just to mention it, but Beyond Thunderdome, with Mel Gibson.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Can't we just get Beyond Thunderdome? But that one had its own special set of stunts as well. But Mad Max Fury Road is it's like a crowning achievement for was it George Miller, I think is the director's name, director of Babe 2, Pig in the City, as well. Which I
love a really diverse production.
Somebody told me, I need to watch that, but somebody told me that if you watch it, it's actually one of those really entertaining movies that you don't expect to be entertaining on like all levels, but there's a big chase scene in that one too, apparently. So maybe George Miller is just a big fan of chase scenes.
Yeah,
that's like his
regardless of what it is. He's gonna do Paddington Bear next and just have poachers going after him.
Yeah. By the way, man, I actually saw Paddington 2, man, and it actually does make you want to be a better man.
It does. Yeah. It's such a good movie. It's so good.
You don't expect it to be. It has a great life lessons, great morality tale,
Yeah. Great comic relief. He's just a good guy. Well, that's great, man. I think we've covered some excellent stunts, whether it's actual stunts performed in cinema, TV, and individuals that deserve recognition for their dedication and their sacrifice of their bodies to make such entertaining things for us to luckily watch. But we're gonna have to do it, like we say in good old pop culture fashion. We're going to have to do another one of these just because there's so many stunts. Yeah, so part 2. Hopefully in the near future. But we have a fan question and a game. And since we're running out of time here, unfortunately, we're going to have to move on. But, Izzy, we have this fan question from Travis Calvin. Why don't you go ahead and read it out?
Travis Calvin via email. By the way, if you want to send us an email, you're more than welcome to at pcfmpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM at Instagram. Our Instagram account is pcfmpodcast. Come and say hi to us. He says, if you could change the death of one character in a film, whose would you change and what would it become, or would they die at all? Would this change the movie's plot? Oh, wow. That's a really interesting question because it's kind of a dilemma because, if it's done right, when a character dies in a movie, it's poignant and it hurts, but it's powerful and it makes sense for the film. Like I wouldn't want to change Sean Bean's character's death in Lord of the Rings, because that was like
really? Because I was literally going to say Boromir lives, kills all the Uruk-hai, and then Minas Tirith is more than willing to partner with Rohan because they have Sean Bean's character to be like, we have a mission, and his father respects him so much, he's the favorite, that they wouldn't have to go through all that torment in order to get Minas Tirith on their side. So that's literally what I was going to say. I was going to immediately, first thought, Boromir does not die.
That's amazing, man. Oh, okay. I get what you're playing at. You know what? Here's who I would not have die. I would change the entire first 5 minutes of Alien 3 because
really?
Aliens is my favorite movie of all time, and I love Ripley and Newt. I love Hicks, and I love Bishop, right? So in the before the credits, I think, are even done with in Alien 3, all those characters except for Ripley die. Like, they're the only surviving characters from the previous movie, and I'm sure for the purposes of the story, they all die. They all crash on this prison planet, and Ripley's the only one that survives.
Yeah.
And so it's like Ripley. It even has shots of him, like Newt's dead. Bishop is like torn apart. He's an android, and then Hicks is freaking just dead. They're just dead, man. And that was such a gut punch to me as like a teenager when I saw that. I can't remember when it came out. It was like early '90s, late '80s, but. And that's David Fincher, man. That was like one of his first big budget movies, him breaking in and making a name for himself. I totally respect him as a filmmaker, but man, I hated that. I would have had him live, and I would have had him, if they were going to go out, I wanted their deaths to mean something. It's like, oh, you know what? Another one I would have not changed is Terminator Dark Fate. Like Terminator 2. It's
Sarah Connor
movie.
just getting murdered?
No. John Connor in the first 30 seconds of the film getting murdered.
Oh, is it
by
John
a
Connor?
Terminator?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like CGI John Connor and de-aged Sarah Connor, played by my friend Maddie Curley. Actually, she was the body double for Sarah Connor.
Oh, yeah.
So if you see that body, that's my friend Maddie Curley's body. But she did a great job. But yeah, just Terminator 2, and you have these beloved characters, and at the end of Terminator 2, she's like, for the first time in my life, I have hope about the future. It's like Terminator Dark Fate is like, nope, no you don't. Here comes Terminator just to kill John Connor in the first 30 seconds of the movie, so we can sweep all that aside and make way for our completely garbaggio plot that's exactly the same as every other Terminator movie, So I would have changed it, and John Connor wouldn't have died. In fact, I would have changed the whole timeline, and Dark Fate would never have existed in the first place.
Well, there you go, buddy. Yeah. And to be honest, if I had to change a death in Lord of the Rings, speaking of saving Boromir, I think you could kill off Frodo. I do not care for Frodo. Kill off Frodo, because I think Sam would have finished the job anyways, because he would be so overcome by Frodo's death that because obviously when Frodo's taken to the tower and is kidnapped, kidnapped by the orcs and taken by Shelob, and then the orcs come and grab him, and he's in that tower. He has to rescue him anyway, and he gets this motivation and becomes like, it's basically, that's like the final catalyst to him becoming the true hero. I think if Frodo actually died, he would have been like, I'm going to do this for us, and like take the ring. He would have had double the lamb's bread, so it would have just been easier for him. And and then Sam would have been the hero that he was all along. So
it's true, man, because Sam was not he wouldn't have been, there wouldn't have been enough time for him to be corrupted by the ring, so he would have been able to go to Mount Doom and throw the ring in without any problem, because he wouldn't have been as tempted by it as much as Frodo been. So I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Frodo go out like a hero's death, and then let Sam take the rest of them.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus, he would have killed off Smeagol because he's been trying to plot him, and he's just like, okay. Yep. Yeah. He's close enough when he's in that tower. They're close enough in Mordor to know where he needs to go. So, yeah, I think if Frodo actually died when he was in that tower instead of rescuing him, he'd just pick up the ring, and then, it would have been solid, because Sam was mentally strong enough anyways to fight it. But Travis, I hope that answered your question, and thank you for reaching out. Again, folks, if you have a question for us that you want to see featured on a future episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast, you know what to do. Izzy said it before, but I'm going to tell you again because repetition is king. Send us an email to pcfmpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on Instagram at pcfmpodcast. And with that, folks, before we go, we always love to play a game.
Actually, Cameron, let me interrupt you. Sorry, man.
Please do it. Do it very rudely, too.
Yeah, I just want to push you aside, man, because it's all about me. Actually, it's all about you, because I wanted to also mention, if you guys didn't know this yet, Cameron now has a Twitch channel. I have always had a Twitch channel. Yes. Twitch.tv/myhappyself. I stream 3 days a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, 12 noon to 5 p.m., and Friday morning, 7 a.m. to noon. Cameron now has a Twitch channel at
I do indeed.
KitGodCam.
Yes, it is twitch.tv/kickgodcam. I'm kind of figuring it out still.
Sure.
So I'm not as professional as Izzy, but whenever I get a chance to stream, it's always a good time. I think so, and that's just my ego talking. If you don't like the stream, keep it to your goddamn self.
We're going to stream together. We're going to do some multi-streams too, man.
We will do multi-streams in the future, and it'll always be a wonderful time.
Yep.
But thank you for that shout-out. I really appreciate that. Now, since I was so rudely interrupted, now we can play our game. And this game, I have the game. So Izzy's going to be playing. Are you ready?
Let's do it, man. I'm ready. I'm always ready for the games because I know that Chris hates us secretly in his heart. Speaking of hating each other, Chris hates us the most. So he makes these games to torture us.
Absolutely. And we'll find out if this game is going to just drive the nail even further. So this game is called Did They Really Do That? I'm going to describe a stunt, and you simply have to tell me whether it really happened or if it was CGI.
Okay.
Super easy.
Cool. I like this.
Okay, so I guess the hardest part about this game is if you've seen this stunt before.
Right. I'm feeling pretty good because I've seen a lot of movies, folks. You know.
I know you have. So let's do it. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so first one, no warm-up, just going hot and heavy. Live Free or Die Hard. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Okay, so when the car ramps into the helicopter.
Ooh. Did they
do that?
Did they actually
do that? Or was that CGI?
You know, I mean, this is like later on in Bruce Willis's career. I don't think yet he had been really debilitated by the effects of his dementia, but not that has anything to do with it. But
maybe because he had dementia, he just accidentally drove a car into a helicopter because he forgot the rules of the world. Yeah,
killed 3 stuntmen. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that they didn't actually do that. That was CGI. I don't see them doing a lot of practical effects the later we get into movie history. So.
Well, you're wrong. He did do that, and it was because of his dementia. No, he really did. They really did that.
Really? Oh, wow,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's never too late. Just like I said, folks, it is never too late to pursue your dreams.
To drive a car into a helicopter.
Yeah. Okay. So starting off a little shaky, but I have a strong, confident feeling that you're going to pick it up on this next one. So our next one here is Casino Royale. James Bond rolls his car and it flips 7 times.
I am going to say yes because the way that it looks and that was like a big selling point in the initial trailer for the film. I remember seeing that the way that it flips and stuff, it has such a chaotic look to it that I think it would be hard to duplicate with CGI effectively. So I'm going to say that they actually did that. They actually flipped the car.
Okay, I'm going to say you are right because, yes, they actually did that. Okay, man, you're on the come up, coming back, redeeming yourself. All right, next one, and here we go. The Dark Knight Rises, the beginning of the movie when they drop the private jet to the ground.
Well, yes, yeah. I'm going to say yes because I remember actually seeing some, like I was doing research for this episode and checking out different stunt montages. And knowing Christopher Nolan as we do, he's a fan of practical stuff. So I remember seeing it like a big fuselage hanging from something else and some dudes crawling on it. So I'm going to say yes, they actually did that.
Yeah. That is absolutely correct. Yeah. And I'm surprised we didn't mention that scene because that scene is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, that starts off the movie, yeah.
Yeah, talk about stunts in movies. Yeah, taking a plane and having it towed by another plane so fast that the wings rip off and it's just basically towing a body of that's absolute bonkers. But that can be mentioned in our part 2 of this. But moving on, good. So you're 2 for 1. You're coming back off of your injury, and you're going to make a full recovery here, I have a feeling. So next one, cliffhanger, zip lining between 2 moving planes.
Cliffhanger?
Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone.
Man, I don't remember that.
I don't even remember that yet.
Maybe that's maybe that's toward the to the start of the second act when the bad guys are trying to break one of their dudes. I know they do that in Air Force One. where they have zip line or something between two. But okay, so it's been a long time. I don't remember seeing this, but it's back in the early days. The early days of filmmaking. It's back in the early days of CGI, I think. So, man, between two planes? God, that's got to be really... I don't know, man. But see, would they really do that back in the day? That seems just like exceedingly dangerous. I gotta go with my instincts on this. I'm gonna say yes, they actually did that. Wait. No, I'm gonna stick with it. They actually did that.
Yes, they actually did that. Way to stick with your instincts there. Always trust your gut. Yeah, they actually ziplined between two moving planes. All right, man. 3 for 1. You're killing it. Right. Moving on. Inception. Spinning hallway fight.
Oh, yes. Now, this is famous for being done practically because they had an entire set on a gimbal that would move, and they had the dudes on wires, and they had the camera so the camera is fixed with the set. It just looks like they're going from wall to wall. You can't see the spinning of it. So, yeah, this is famous for being practical. Yeah, that was absolutely done practically.
Okay, so since you know it, I'm just going to tell you, yes, they really did that.
All right.
So, awesome, man. Let's see if you can finish it off strong. Here we go. I've never heard of this movie, but you can, if you have, that'd be great. Children of Men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
So it's a single take car crash scene in the forest. So it's literally, even if you haven't seen this, you've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, it's what they call a oneer or a one shot where they don't cut. They don't seem to cut. Kind of like in 1917, the whole movie seems to be one long shot.
Yeah.
That's tough, man. I mean, I'm sure that they wanted to make it look like one shot because I think that movie is famous for having some really long tracking shots. But there are cuts in there, so I don't know how they're really defining it. I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to say yes that they actually did that, and they actually did it with a one shot. So yeah, I'm going to say they actually did that.
Way to start out, or way to finish strong, buddy. That is correct. They really did that.
All right. So I only missed one.
Only missed one due to dementia causes. But I can tell you this, that you, my friend, do not have dementia because you finished it very strong.
Thank God.
So good job, Izzy. You crushed this game.
Thank you, Chris, for helping us to stave off dementia one more day. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this amazing episode where we highlight stunts from our favorite movies. What are some of your favorite stunts? Let us know in the comments section, folks, if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you want even more amazing content, please join us on our Patreon. We've got some great plans for the future. And, let us know what other kind of stuff you want to see on the PCFM Podcast YouTube website as well, because we want to create amazing content for all of you now that we are free and independent. Cameron, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking the time to tolerate me and talk about stunts with me, my friend. And with that,
cue music!